Okay, so someone made a comment in one of my earlier videos about the G5 and how did I strip it down. They were looking at these buttons up here, and I made the comment I used contact cleaner, although mine's not very good at the minute. It's good contact cleaner, but it's not got much aerosol in it. So what I'll do is I'll make another video of a strip down, because I need to get into these row buttons here, the type page. They're just not working properly. These had a bit of contact cleaner and they just worked. But what I'm going to do is I'll take it apart and I'll edit in sections. So the main thing is that we've got to take the screws off the bottom first of all. So the 4 here in this area, which is underneath the pedal, are of interest. They're longer. So I'll take those off. I'll pause the camera in a minute. Then you've got, I don't know, about 18 around the edge here. So I'll just put them in one of these little tub tops. Once you get inside, there's a piece of copper strip there. And I haven't found an easy way to remove it other than physically just to tear it. And I've got some guitar sticky conductive tape anyway, which I'll put in there. But I need to get into here. Now these have to come off, so we'll just take them off now, because why not, yeah. And underneath are a series of tiny little hex nuts. Not certain what size they are. I think I'll have to look, see if I get my set in there. Anyway, the thing about them, the boost and tone is different. The thing about them is that tightening them up alone was enough to pull the board up a bit, and that made the buttons a bit more responsive, but not enough. Oh, I see there's a couple of screws here I hadn't noticed last time in the corner. I didn't take those off, so maybe there's something to do with this board here. But to be honest, I mean, it's almost like there's something around the edge here. Now, why I didn't take it apart before, I want to be careful. These LCDs, when they break, are rarer than hen's teeth, okay? I've pretty much got the MIDI sorted on here, a combination of stuff that 6.8 had done and some more reviews I've done of the Sysx. So I can pretty much control the pedal remotely now. People say that these buttons go, and underneath is a momentary switch. I'll be taking a look at them. Okay, so I took these little screws out here. You need a fairly fine screwdriver crosshead for that. I tried to get these out. I'm just putting a little razor blade underneath them, and they're stuck with something underneath. So I'm guessing there's some screw underneath there, so I won't do that anymore. Let's get these off, get those off, and take it from there. So the first thing I noticed with the pedal disorientation, all of the screws there are out. All the screws apart from these 3 here are out. I put those here, I put the top ones there, the bottom ones there, because they're slightly different size. And with that the case, the right cheek comes off dead easy, so I'll put that over there. The left cheek doesn't want to come off so much, yeah. So rather than force it, something's holding in. I don't know what yet. Could be this, could be some connector. So let's not do that. So the next phase is let's try and take this bottom bit off. Doesn't want to come off, so these 4 have got to come off. Oops. So we take these 4 off. These are longer. At least I think they are. Oh no, yeah, actually they're slightly shorter. Yeah, I'll put them in the corner there. So I'll put them in the corner so I know I don't knock anything over, hopefully. And you can calibrate this pedal and you can change the travel. I've not done that. The Z pedal is quite nice. I haven't used it in a gig yet because, again, I haven't got the unit quite as reliable as I want, but it does work on the software that I've written, so that's pretty cool. So now this should come off, and that's that. Put that to one side. Right, so the reason this won't come off, we can see, is because of the copper tape I spoke about before. So actually, you probably don't need to take that off. I'll leave that as it is. So now I've got to get into these boards here. Yeah, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws there. They've got to come out. There's a couple of ribbon cables that need to come off. So one can come off here, one can come off there. There's like a ZIF socket there. There's a little thing there that come off by the looks of it. But again, do it gently. Don't force anything. There's the tube. Maybe there's slightly higher voltages there, I don't know. Be careful of that area for certain. There's normally a one hand rule, isn't there, where you just keep one hand behind your back. There's the pedal assembly there moving in there. That looks quite neat. So what I think I'll do, well, that's the ZFX-i4. ZFX4 rather, is the processor inside. I don't know how that compares to the others. So let's try and get these pedals out first. So these 5 screws are coming out, so I'll just pause that and get on with that. Okay, so those screws have come out. The ribbon is still attached, so very carefully move it. So the ribbon's going into here. Let's just turn that round. Is there a... Oops, don't do that, lose your screws. Put those down there. Let me examine this. Test points on there. Now you could probably pull that cable out, but I think I prefer to take it out of here. So I've just gently teased that out, and that's the board out now. And those are the switches. Maybe you can see there's lots of hair and crap in there, yeah? So that definitely needs a clean. And it looks like they're sort of momentary switches. I've seen other people do this, so if they're not working, you can resolder them. I guess what I could do is to put a meter underneath and check if there's a beep, yeah? In fact, humor me a second, let's try that right now, yeah? Let's try that right now. So let's get the continuity meter out. Oh, it's dusty. Someone else's foot cheese, yeah? Okay, let's just test the beep. There we are. We really need 3 hands for this bit. But let's just try and touch that there, nothing. There. So what I'm doing is I'm putting the continuity meter onto the back of the solder points and then pushing the button, yeah? So I'll just continue doing that for the rest and we'll see how we get on. So what I observe is that they're very unreliable, these couple of these pedals. I guess they've been used, the foot switches, more, and maybe I can get that close enough, but you can hopefully see that the solder doesn't look very well flowed, yeah? Maybe someone's tried to go in there and redo it, or just mechanical failure, but that looks like bad soldering to me, so I think they're gonna have to be resoldered. In fact, let me check. Sorry, that was the LEDs I was looking at. LCD LED. These are the ones here, the switches. Let me get in the right place. These are not so good, yeah? So they need a little bit of resoldering. That's definitely a good thing to do. I'll move the camera for this one. Nothing to notice that you see there's 5 holes there, 5 screws that screw it in, but there's 2 screw holes on these things, or at least 2. So really what's happening is you're tightening in one place and the pivot action is keeping it in place. So they're not as well tied in as they could be. Just whilst I'm here, another view of the boards and what's there. So there's the tube stuff. Be careful of that bit. That's probably a bit more frisky. We've then got, what's that, analog PCB, whatever the hell that's doing. We've got the digital processor there. And this is the bit I need to get off behind, which is the main displays, because somewhere underneath there are all the buttons that are slightly suspect, yeah? And solder doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look cold solder by any means. And this little ribbon here came out in the shot from that connector there, so you need to put it in the right way and slide it in carefully. So let's carry on with the investigation. So I estimate these are 10 mil, these nuts here, but I've left my 10 mil spanners set somewhere else in the house or in my car, so I don't obviously see it. People would say tidy your desk, you'll find it. I know where I put it, and it's not where I left it, rather, not where I put it. I'm not a putter. So I'm pretty convinced this is about 10, but if you've got an adjustable spanner you can get close enough, and it's just about loosening it getting them off, and underneath each nut is a washer. And before, these buttons here, or at least certainly the pots and the buttons, weren't so good, and just tightening these back with a bit of contact cleaner underneath was the starting point. But what I've noticed is that when I push one of these buttons here, the next one moves, and that smacks of some sort of diode problem. I do not know if there's any diodes in here yet, because I never managed to get this bit underneath out before. So that's what we're doing. We're taking it apart and sacrificing. I'm sacrificing this for the greater good. I got the G5N, which is a lovely unit. I do like this one actually. The Z plane is lovely. This is okay for guitar, not so good for bass. It's okay, but for guitar you've got this little tube booster thing going on, which is a little bit like an amp. I got a tube amp. It's not quite the same, but it's a little bit like it. It does warm it up, so well worth playing. I would say that they look bigger. Yeah, these are bigger nuts here. Maybe the 11 or 12 will fit it. Let's have a look which one's which. 13 might fit it. No, 11. Yeah, they're 11. This is the tool I really wanted. So these ones are 11 here. And this is related to the tube amp circuit. So in fact, what I would do is turn it over very carefully. Yeah, I don't need to take that off, so I'm going to tighten that back up. This doesn't need to come off in order to get these displays out, so there's no sense in taking things off. In the same way, these don't need to come out at all, these foot pedal switches, unless you've got a problem with it. But since it's just a physical foot pedal switch, rather than a continuous, the momentary switch. Now, careful, I was about to put my hand underneath there. There is the booster there, so I keep it on the edge. Again, I don't know what I'm doing here, so this isn't how to do it. This is how I'm doing it, and it might be the last video I ever make, yeah? So you do everything at your own risk, yeah? Okay. So don't take this off. There's no need unless you have a problem in that circuit. So I just got to take these ones off here. Yeah, there you are. Come on. And then I'll be able to tip these onto the workbench. So let's do that now. How many have come off? Yep. Yep. So I got this board out last time. This is what I cleaned to get these switches a bit better. But I need to look at the assembly behind them, because it really smacks of a diode problem. Actually, to be fair, these buttons up here are not so bad. I got contact cleaner in there. I just let it soak. You know, like if you have a bad pot, you just move it a few times and that seems to fix it. These look like rotary encoders in here. Let's get that lot there. So that's all my nuts and stuff together in one place. Okay, so let's see what happens here. Okay, this board is coming out. What's underneath it? Ah, there's a little ribbon cable there. Why wouldn't you come out, you swine? Ah, there's a ribbon cable there as well. So I think this has got to come out. So now what we'll do is we'll carefully take this out. So you hold it both sides and give it a gentle tug. That's it. So that ribbon's come out. And yeah, there's two screws there to come out. Let's get them out. Put that with that lot. There's an earth strap here. And that's going through somewhere else, maybe. Okay. Now, this is a microprocessor, so you should ground yourself a bit before you play too much with it. And that's got the, this is what I was saying about last time, it's got the copper strip that goes to this edge panel. That's why this panel doesn't come off. Well, I've just already taken that off, so I'll put some more sticky back on. And why don't you want to come out? The reason it's not coming out is because we've got the guitar in, or control in rather. You can put two expression pedals in this. You've got the one built in and another one here, which is quite neat. So that's why this one doesn't come out, because this control is needing to have the bolt and the nut taken out. So let's just carry on with that. Just giving it a bit of encouragement. And at my age, you know, my eyes aren't so good, so close and near far focus is tricky, but I think that's good. Right, so I'll put that over there. There's the board coming out. There we are. And he's out of the way now. So let's see why this doesn't come out. Okay, there's a connection further on down, two connections, ribbon cables, which my guess is that they're going down. You come off there, that's great. There's a little bit, I see the, right, the ribbon cable is going down underneath. So, okay, so these ribbon cables are going down to the displays, and I guess there's some sort of LCD. So let's very carefully twist this around. I've got to be careful of this wire here. I'll put that down. Okay, so there's some sort of additional shroud here. So let's take these off. There, so they just come off like that. I don't know what they are, but they go under there. I suppose they're a combination of dust or whatever, dust covers. So they've come off there. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, which I guess are there 4 displays? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, okay, so you've got display ribbons coming out of these from the board. And I don't think that's the problem, because the display is okay. Now, this little wire here is a bit annoying. Where's he going? He's going to a control from the pedal, and there's test points there. And the other one is going here, which is coming from this extra control there. So let me see if I can turn it around a bit. I've got to be very careful. I don't want to ruin the display. Okay, it's just little buttons. Lots of dust. I'm going to give that a clean. What I'm going to do, I'll hold it like that. Let me pause the camera and bring it in so you can get a close-up, yeah? Hang on. So as we said, we've got the little ribbon cables going into the display there. I don't know if I got this off last time. I don't think I did. Let me just twist that round a bit. Careful. So you see all the dust on it. That's crappy. Encoder. Encoder's okay. Again, tightening this thing up with these bolts here made the buttons stiffer, so when you push them they're okay. What I'm going to have to do is see if there's a trace underneath that is the momentary switch, and have a look, because I don't see any. I see capacitors, I see chips, I don't see any diodes on there whatsoever. I mean, they might be tiny. If they're surface mount, there's nothing I can do about that. But for certain, when I push these little buttons in, and it's filthy as crap in there, but when I push these little buttons in, what happens is the next display gets impacted, and I don't know why. Maybe there's something wrong with the trace. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray that liberally with cleaner, dry it out, and see if it makes any difference. That's about the best I can do, and I'll have a look for anything more, but that's where I'm at the minute. So this is a close-up of the trace. There's those little 271 things in there coming along. After it says R186, C61, C226, R241. And I need to look at what's going on, because when I put continuity across the buttons and push and they don't do anything. Now that could just be bad contact. It might be to do with some diode or something. Again, I don't see a diode, but these are little surface mount things. And a friend of mine at work has got a hot airflow station actually, so it could be a good chance to experiment with it, but I don't fancy my odds here. They're nicely isolated, so he's got special heat tape for, you know, masking off areas of the board. But there's test points, so that looks a bit ugly there, doesn't it? That looks a little bit like, ugh. So maybe I should try and clean that up. Although, to be fair, yeah, that does look a bit ugly there, doesn't it? I'm trying to get a better focus. I don't know what that rubbish is there. So, I mean, that's maybe the first bit. Let's try and clean these things up here. Because it looks to me as if this is... I've got anything I can point with. It looks to me as if this is supposed to be separate. And it doesn't look like it is there. I should get a little proper VGA magnifying kit, which is pretty good actually. On the other side, oh yeah, you can take those ribbon cables off by looks. If you can see, let me get it in focus. See, there's a, not a ZIF, but there's a socket there, so they could come off. But for the minute, I've given that a reasonable clean. Let me get it in focus. Given that a reasonable clean, but I think it's something this side that I'm worried about. This isn't really doing what it should do, so I'll have to follow these through. And that looks a bit dirty as well, but that'll be okay. So that's what I do. I play with this stuff. Okay, so we got it on the bench. I got the power supply coming in. Careful of this. This could be. I don't think it's gonna. I don't know. I can't imagine it's super high voltage, but I'm not an expert, so must be a certain amount of voltage for a tube to come on. So I've wired it back in. We've got these little things here, so very carefully that goes on and off, 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 that goes on and off. So those switches are working. That one's a bit temperamental, look. In fact, they're all a bit temperamental. On, off. Ah, that's interesting. They all go on, off there. So maybe that's not doing what I think it's doing. Okay, so there's something a bit iffy there. Can you see the lights going on and off? This one goes on and off there. That turns all those on. There's something a bit suspect. I mean, obviously I'm bending the board there. Not so good. And what I should do is to look at the display to see what it's actually saying. So let's slot this. Let's switch it off. Unplug it. Now I'm going to slot it into position, but obviously I've got more work to do here because we noted that those little spring things came out and we don't know where they go. Well, I don't know in a minute, so I've got to work that out. Let's just basically slot it in like so. Is it going to come through? Oh yeah, okay, so they don't go all the way through. That makes sense. They go to a certain height. Oh, they do go all the way through. But that's probably, oh yeah, of course they do, because the thing goes on underneath, doesn't it? So let's leave like that at the minute. Now ideally I want a cloth with no metal on it, because the last thing I want to do is to turn this upside down, expose metal to something and then short things. So that's not what I want to do. That looks pretty good at this point. So let's turn it round very carefully. Oh, it fell out. Oh well. Let's try and push it through again. Yeah, you can do it. So in fact, let's do it like that. So I sort of feel at this point I'm touching the low voltage parts, yeah, and in fact I'm on the shorted bit, so I have to believe, maybe incorrectly, that I'm not on a high voltage bit, yeah, but this is my risk, yeah, so don't follow along without knowing what you're doing, and I openly don't know what I'm doing, yeah. So no power supply, it's here, okay, so it's coming on. We've got a bit of liquid inside the LCDs where I've put stuff in, that's all flashed up, so it's just syncing. So that's all working there. Oh no, that's not working. What happened there? It's going up and down, but every so often it flashes the tempo. Unless that's because that's got tempo on it. I don't know. I don't know why that flashes tempo. So it's another thing where these are a bit iffy. That's scrolling to the right and to the left. Okay, great. Rhythm. Now look, rhythm's doing the total button, see? So there's something, and that's flashing that on. Global. Store swap is doing something. Global is a bit iffy. So there is something wrong with the buttons here. So this one's a bit knackered, yeah. I don't think there's a lot I can do about that. Let's see. Can we get onto a patch select? Can we go onto a patch select? To go home, but I can't push those buttons down. So let's, okay, we're on something there. So yeah, that's just, okay, that's on some continuously sending stuff. So maybe I'll, it doesn't like that, so that's shorted. Oh, didn't like that. So, okay. It's not happy. Push that up like that. Ah, I see. All right, that's moving the tone city up and down. So let's see. We've got hardware stack. We push it once, it goes to tangerine. We push it back, there goes a hardware stack. We push it again, tone city. Back again, twin rock. So twin rock, tone city, yeah, there we are. So that's seemingly going up and down. And does the page button do anything? No, not really. So it really needs a new board, I think, and that's too, I mean, that's basically throw it away type stage, yeah. So I've cleaned it out. Those buttons are better than they were, but this one isn't really doing anything, the page. In fact, that's just acting as if it's being pushed, yeah. Oh, good. Yeah. So it doesn't like being shorted against something. I think all I can do is put it back together. So it's a bad idea to do what I'm doing. And of course, there is a little bit of liquid in there. Maybe I can push it down with that. No. So what I said before, this board needs to go in, and these metal, the only thing really giving a moment is the potentiometers being screwed in. So when I first got it, they were a bit loose. So I'll switch it off, I'll screw those in. I've got to work out how this thing goes in. I can definitely see already, even though I haven't touched these, they're not really quite working as well as they could. I mean, that's a little bit better. But you see, it keeps pushing the tap tempo on every so often. So that set the rhythm on okay. That turns it off, I think. No. The rhythm turns it off, and that's moving the total button. So there's something a bit odd with these buttons in general. Global. Oh, that's actually done the global button for a change. Yeah, I think if you get a unit that's a bit knackered, you could be in trouble, yeah. So I'll try and work out how these springs are going. I'll give this a clean under here because it's filthy. Switch it off, and I will report back on if it did any difference, yeah. But so far, not exactly successful. Interesting to take it apart. I've got the G5N, which I really like. Let's see how far I can get this to do anything. Okay, yeah, bye. So I'm almost certain that those little middle spring things to go in there, because they seem to fit, yeah. It's the only thing I can think that they do, yeah. Get it in focus. Be very careful. When I was tightening up the one of the pots, I broke the shaft off, which no one likes to see, yeah. Which one? That one there, yeah. So I can either replace that, or I can maybe put a little bit of wood in, because it's just about spinning the electronics part of it. So I might fashion a little piece of wood to do it. But let's get this up. I think it wasn't very successful what's happened here. I don't think I've done very well, but I really wanted to take it apart and see if I could make it work, because it's not working for me without that. Something like diodes, but I can't see diodes there, so let's see. Easier to screw these things in first, because there's nothing. Screw these little silver cylinders in first for the foot switches. I was just clean them off so they look more new, at least. So I've achieved, I made it look cleaner, that's all. Okay, so we put it back together again. The casualty is this little thing here. I don't know, I think a little bit of square screw might go in there. I got the spare part. That's doing something. That's doing something. Because I can't. You see, look, it's still doing the same thing where that one starts to move that one every so often. So that's good there. But now you see it moves that graphic. That's going back. That's better than it was. That doesn't do jack. Oh, wait a minute. That seems to be doing that one. Yeah. And that, you see, is going around in circles. ZNR noise. Let's try and get this in the same place. Slow attack. Booster. Let's try and get this to booster. I don't know where booster is in the scheme of things. See that even that's doing it. It will suddenly go to another. There, booster. That one's doing that one for some reason, but then it seems to work. Oh, someone on the phone. Let's just pause that a second. Yeah, again, this one, you see, it sometimes does something. So that's they're all on booster. So let's push that one up one. Overdrive. And that goes to that. Overdrive. Down one, booster. Booster. So that's a success. These weren't working very well before. They're better. But we've still got a whole group here. I mean, you saw I put a lot of contact cleaner in there. So maybe I just need to work them a bit. But, you know, normally with a pot, you would go back and forth a bit. And it's quite difficult to do. Do these still work? One. No, number 3 is not working now. And if you look at some other videos that people have done, they're a bit suspect, somebody. So they're much better than they were. Number 3 itself is now not working, which is a pain because that's part of the bank up, bank down. So I think a major system failure there. So yeah, for me it was an education to take it apart, and I'm more happy with that. These were still busted. There seems to be it's slightly better than it was. So I think what I'm going to have to do is to play with these buttons. Oh, it's doing something now. And see whether they clean themselves out. But I'm not thinking that's going to be the case here. I've got to fix that thing. So I think the thing is, if you buy something off eBay, you expect it. If someone says it's working, it should work. If it doesn't, send it back or get a discount, yeah. For me, at least, I haven't broken the displays. I could sell this for spares, but I quite like the unit. And I can program it with MIDI. so I can do most of this from the remote control computer, and I'll be publishing the code for that. I mean, what I'll do is I'll just keep playing with this and see if it gets any better, but you know, nothing ventured, nothing gained. So it was more a case, someone asked the question, how do you take it apart, what do you do? I'm not condoning what I did as the right way. In fact, it kind of buzzed a bit when I had it open, so I wouldn't recommend that. Yeah, that's a bit better, but this is just crazy. This thing is like making its little mate turn up. And again, in the early days it was partly to do with these not being tight enough, but obviously you can over tighten it, so don't do that. Yeah, I can't tell you what the torque is, I don't have a manual. Yeah, it's not that much, that's for certain. Yeah, so this is really to help you if you want to go down a similar avenue. You got to make a decision, is it worth it? For me, I have a plethora of pedals, so for me it was just a purely interesting technical journey of taking stuff apart, which I kind of love doing. Yeah, your mileage may vary. Okay, I'll stop there, edit this, and hopefully you'll get something out of it. Cheers then, bye bye.